The Secrets of Technology is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give. Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Technology, where we discuss the technology news that's important to you from a uniquely Catholic point of view. And joining me today on the panel are Pat Scott. Hey, Pat.
Greetings.
And Father Andrew Kinstetter. Hey, Father Andrew.
Hello there.
And I want to wish everyone, we're recording this and releasing this right around the Independence Day holiday in the U.S., so happy 4th of July to everyone, and may your freedom ring. Put it that way. And before we get to today's show, I want to let everyone know about another show on the StarQuest Network you're sure to enjoy called The Secrets of Movies and TV Shows, which you can find wherever fine podcasts are found or at sqpn.com/secrets. The episode of that show that's releasing the very same day as this one is about the new movie Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. So that's going to be really cool. And we've had some really great episodes lately, and we got some good ones coming up. Howl's Moving Castle, Inside Out 2, the biggest blockbuster animated movie of the year, which has a lot of Catholic resonance and overtones. So Father will be hosting that one. So that'll be good.
Yep.
We're going to be digging into The Chosen second season and on. We have an episode that we did a while ago on the first season, and we kind of like, hey, why haven't we talked more about The Chosen? So that's going to be, there's so much coming up on the Secrets of Movies and TV Shows. So definitely check that out. So before we get to today's main topic, we have more of your wonderful listener feedback. And the first bit of feedback came in on email from Ted. And Ted says, first of all, I will miss Father Corey and thank him for his time with SQPN. And I've enjoyed listening to him on Secrets of Tech and the Secrets of Doctor Who. The U.S. military is lucky to have him. I agree, Ted. Yes, and we will miss him. So I just wanted to give some feedback on the recent episode and let you know that your picks of the week are valued, and I have taken the team's advice on many purchases. From the recommendation of the team, I have purchased an Eero Mesh, Eero Plus, 1Password to replace LastPass, Malwarebytes, and the VPN, the Steam Deck, EA Games, and others I can't think of. I did purchase the fan that Dom mentioned as one of his misses and have not had any problems. I have not purchased a dock yet, so that's not been an issue. I did purchase the newly recommended Steam Deck fan a few weeks ago for my daughter's boyfriend. Dom, you recommended a Steam Deck fan again this week. Am I obligated to buy a third Steam Deck fan? Ted, yes, of course, if you are obligated to buy one. I will admit that I have not purchased SetApp. Why? So, by my calculations, I have purchased 95.6% of Dom's non-SetApp recommendations. I do use the Amazon link on your website, hoping that SQPN gets some sort of credit. That is true. Actually, if you do buy it from the links on our site, we do get some credit, some kickback from Amazon for that. So all of that helps support the show, and so we do appreciate that. He says, I do have a miss. A telescope was recommended several years ago and did not have much success with it. I looked online and there was nothing but bad reviews about it. Oh, well, I do enjoy the show and I listen to it on my Saturday morning walk and look forward to the picks. They're always insightful. I will say I have owned several inexpensive telescopes over the years. And I think I have had zero luck with any of them. I think if you're going to get a telescope, you got to spring for the more expensive ones, really, unless you are, someone who really understands them well. I think maybe if you're like a telescope geek, an inexpensive one will work. But like the ones that have the motors and that point at things for you, I think that's really the baseline. It's my opinion, just based on my bad luck with telescopes. So. And then we got another email from Leonard, who was commenting on our recent discussion in episode 260 about there was a study or a paper done about, where is cable going to be going in the future? How does cable survive, or what is going to result from, the decline of cable? And Leonard is a former chief technician in the cable TV industry, and he clarifies some of our misconceptions that we had about cable TV packages. It was a very long and detailed email. It was excellent information. I really appreciated it. I kind of summarized it here for you just to give you the gist of it. He explains that networks, not cable providers, control the channel packages. So, the bundles of the shows that you have to buy, often bundling multiple channels together and requiring cable providers to carry them all, which increases costs for providers and consumers. So, yeah, everybody wants ESPN, but they don't want Discovery 3. I don't know, the country tractor channel or
Animal
something.
Planet.
Right. I mean, some people love those, but you know what I mean? It's like you got to carry all of these and pay for all of these to get the one. So, and that's to the cable companies, not just to the end user. Leonard describes the technical and financial challenges in accommodating network demands, such as upgrading equipment and managing bandwidth. Because when you bring in the bundles, they need more bandwidth to carry all that to your house. He highlights that high costs are due to network demands rather than cable companies. He also touches on the shift towards streaming and its impact on the industry, emphasizing the control that networks exert over content and pricing, which streaming networks don't have to deal with so much, although they might have to in the future if they start bringing in other people's content.
Bundling.
The reason the channels were slow to go to streaming was because they knew that consumers wouldn't pay directly for a lot of their content, these channels that they're bundling. So he concludes by noting the broader complexities are often overlooked by consumers. And I would say that's true of almost everything. Most people don't know the details of the very complex world we live in. Every industry has incredibly more complexities than the average person is aware of. And I will acknowledge that sometimes I've used overly simplistic framing for some of these things. So you're right. And so anytime anyone who's an expert in an area wants to let us know the details, I'll be happy to receive that and potentially relay it on the show. So I did know that there was this bundling going on and that it is a problem for the industry, that the cable networks are required to carry these to the benefit of the channels more so than the cable providers. So, and that's been a burden for them. So thank you both for your feedback. Really appreciate it. We do love to get your feedback. If you want to send in some feedback, you can send an email to technology@sqpn.com or visit our Discord, where there's lots of great conversations are going on in the Secrets of Tech channel. That's at sqpn.com/discord. So our main topic this time is about messaging apps. There are lots of messaging apps out there, lots of ways to get messages to and from people, even like other services like LinkedIn. You can message people, and Snapchat, I'm not sure why you would, but some people do. Instagram, TikTok, there are ways to send messages and all these services, but there are some dedicated messaging apps out there. And how do you choose between them? That's really because what we're going to get at. Before we do, I want to ask you, Pat, and you, Father Andrew, start with you, Pat. What is your when you need to message with people in your life, what are the primary ones you use? And maybe is there a difference between personal and work related? What do you do?
Well, on my agenda, basically, family is typically Apple iMessage. And then a lot of people that I know use Facebook Messenger, so I use that some. I use Signal for a couple of people just because we wanted to practice with it and thought it was cool, and we want to keep up that going on. Not that we have secrets to keep from people. And then Google has Google Voice, and I use that for some of my text messaging with clients that I've given out my Google number instead of my personal number. Okay. And that's the major ones I use.
How about you, Father? What do you use?
I would actually be similar. I didn't even really consciously think about it until now, but they are separated more or less in terms of personal and kind of business related
function.
Right. Definitely. I mean, all my close friends, family, they have my phone number. So, we're using Apple Messages, or if they're on an Android, I mean, we're still using text message, SMS based messaging. But I also, I mean, I use Facebook Messenger a lot, which surprised me, but especially as a priest, that's almost my public business profile, even though it's not really a business profile, it's my personal profile. But like, there's a lot of people out there that want to get in touch with me because they know me or they've met me, or, you know, they might be a parishioner at the church or wherever, but they don't have my personal cell phone number. So they shoot me a message through Facebook Messenger. And I don't mind that at all, because it does allow, you know, people to get in touch with me. So I use that a lot. And then the other one, actually, like you, Pat, I use Google Voice quite a bit because of that ability. Google Voice allows you to create a completely separate number, cell phone number that you can call and text from, and it'll ring your phone just like your actual cell phone number. You know, you can have the app on your phone and you can receive text through it. And so I've actually used that in a more specific way. That's often the number that I give out, like, to the parish staff. And put on the voicemail of the office of the emergency line. If there's someone in the hospital who needs anointing, I can put that number there, and that number calls my phone directly without it being my personal number. And I can also set that number to ring through, like, my do not disturb. So middle of the night kind of situation, it'll still ring through and I can get it. But I'm also not just giving my personal cell phone number out there to everyone. And in this, you know, this world of dying landline phones, I mean, the rectory that I was at before where I'm currently at didn't even have a landline into the rectory that was functional. So, you know, but I've got my cell phone on me all the time. So Google Voice is perfect for that. And I don't think I use really any others than those three ones. I mean, I've heard of some of the others, but don't really dabble too much, I guess, in them.
Okay.
One comment on the Google Voice thing too is that with Google Voice, I can check it on my phone. I can check it on my PC because there's a website for it. And anytime I get a text or a phone call, I get an email from Google Voice reminding me, so I don't lose I don't lose these calls as easily as I do when a text gets buried down in my stream.
So for my uses, I'll start with Google Voice. I've had a Google Voice number since it was Grand Central, which Google bought. So that goes back more than a decade now. And I haven't had a landline in more than 20 years. I've been, you know, cell phone exclusive for a long time. I had a Vonage number when I was first married, and I had a business out of the home, and I used Vonage VoIP. But that went away, and ended up just using a Google Voice number for that. And a couple of things I love about that, in addition to what you said, is you can have it ring multiple phones so that you can, like, you and your spouse could have it ring both your phones. So it could, again, function like a landline where it rings both of you at the same time. You can also set up some custom things, like custom, for, like, instead of just blocking a number, you can have that number receive a out of service message. So if you're getting harassed by somebody, they can get an out of service message. And so there's some nice things like that. You can screen calls and that sort of thing. So that's good. For a lot of my messaging, it's like you guys said, it's SMS text for me over Apple iMessage. I've had issues with, one thing that comes up with me is there's a particular person in my life who is I went to college with, who she just doesn't quite understand how things work, and has put my iCloud address into Apple iMessage instead of my phone number. So all of the messages to that group of my college friends comes to my email account instead of to the Messages app. And it comes as an attachment to an email. It drives me bonkers. I cannot, I want to reach through the thing and teach her, don't do that. But I've tried to explain it. She just doesn't get it, for whatever reason. Anyway, she's like a classic older Gen Xer. So
can't you turn that off in your settings that you can?
Yeah, you can say send and receive. Don't do it through my Apple address.
Just through your number.
Yeah, and I did. It still comes. I don't understand. Okay. It's really weird. So it's okay.
Well, maybe that's why you're getting an email versus a text.
Well, and I've got one client that whenever she texts me, it comes in as an email as if it's coming from such and such at att.net.
Yes.
And I've looked on her phone and I've tried it and it looks perfectly right, but yet her messages come through in another way and I can't figure out why either.
When I had an AT&T account, I had to call them and tell them to turn off the email gateway. Like I had to physically call them. There was no other way to do it because I was getting the same sort of thing, and I had to ask them to turn off. So one of you has AT&T, and so one of you could ask them to turn it off. But so yeah, it's a real hassle.
I think, but I think she's got AT&T also. We both have AT&T. So and she's not sending it to my email address. She is sending it to my phone number. It's weird.
Yeah, what they told me when I called now a long time ago, because I don't have AT&T anymore, is something gets messed up in the configuration on their end, and so it's almost like a DNS error for websites, except it's a phone thing. So yeah, I use messages. Yeah, I use messages a lot. I have group chats and that sort of thing in there. Although I did have to move my family chat, my brothers and sisters. We moved it to WhatsApp because my sister is the lone holdout on Android. And whenever my other sister loves to send pictures and videos, and the problem between Android and Apple, until maybe the near future, we'll talk about that in a second, is that whenever if a picture was shared, it was super small and compressed, and you just couldn't, there was no point in sending it. I don't even know why they bother, because it was just, invisible. So WhatsApp let us do this cross-platform communication. There were several apps we could have done, but I figured WhatsApp, I suggested WhatsApp to them because it's a Facebook product and that sort of thing. So, yeah, so that's what we use. And as I said, probably the most common message app people are using, the messaging service people are using, is either Google Messages or Apple iMessage, Apple Message. And that problem I talked about between them will potentially be solved in iOS 18 when Apple implements a protocol that Google's been using called RCS. And it's rich content system. It's rich something system, and it's supposed to allow multimedia, images and stuff like that to translate much better than it has. But it's really going to depend on how well Apple adheres to the standard, which we all know Apple, so they'll do something to keep it not working. So that's what we use. And so let's talk about some of these. Father, did you have something you wanted to add?
I forgot one that I use that's not on your list, actually.
Okay.
And I'll just explain it really quick. It's pretty much like WhatsApp or Telegram or any of these others. It's called GroupMe. I don't know if you've heard of it. But GroupMe. I mean, same basic principle. And the only reason I bring it up is because I've been here at the Catholic University of America for the last 2 years, and one of my classmates had us all sign up for it and started a group chat for our class. And what was nice about it was it was a non-invasive way to get everybody to communicate without saying, "Hey, let me have your phone number," because we don't really know each other yet, and so you've kind of got that whole thing going on. But it's kind of become our standard way of communicating. We all have each other's phone numbers now, but we still use GroupMe to coordinate whatever we're doing for on campus stuff. But yeah, it works. It works just like any of these others. There's also a web interface, so you could pull it up, in Google or Firefox or Safari, and kind of like Google Voice, you could actually message through the web.
Okay.
So, and I found it to be effective.
That's an excellent point, actually, about GroupMe that you make. Is most of the other messaging apps that we're going to talk about require me to know your phone number or other contact information, but usually a phone number to connect with you. So you have to give me some personal information. Whereas this one looks like you set up a community in it, and then you invite people, hey, join this community, and then they join, like you join Twitter or Discord. You don't have to give out your contact information in order to to be a part of it. And so that keeps some privacy. I like that.
Well, in fact, one of the things that somebody had mentioned is that there's a lot of school and organizations that have apps, and I went looking, and there's at least 20 or 30 of them, and they are all basically what GroupMe is, and they're kind of educationally generated, so that you have a little bit more privacy. But there's, I saw a list of about 20 or 30 different ones that coaches, teachers, those types of people use with, among their groups with their students, etc., because of the not having to give out the phone number.
Mm-hmm. One I realize now that I use with my sons are in Scouts. Their troop leaders use a service called Remind Me, which I think is intended to be for schools, but they're using it for the troop, and it's a way
adopted it. Yeah.
Yeah. I as a parent, I sign up for the service, and then they can send out texts, which are more immediate. But they don't have to have my number, and they don't have to have a big contact list that they have to text to, and it's not a group chat so that, people start talking in it and then it becomes this long thread of irrelevant information. It's just one way
broadcasting. Yeah. Broadcasting rather than chatting. Yeah.
Right.
In the similar vein, Flocknote would be another one to throw into your list. It's it's not
church
really
oriented. Yeah.
I mean, it's a similar thing, but it's geared towards parishes and communication from the parish to the people. But there is a back and forth. You can send messages back and forth through Flocknote. But and of course, it's more than just messaging back and forth. I know you can send out email newsletters through it. You can, and in fact, I plan to implement that in my parish, hopefully this fall, because it's a great way to message, especially the young people who may not be looking at the bulletin, but they're going to sign up for Flocknote and get the text messages or emails.
I mean, Flocknote has really grown into a whole parish management system. I mean, there's donation management and, online giving and member and registrations and event signups. It's a whole thing. I mean, if you're parishes that use it, I can imagine how great it would be to be able to be in communication. Because right now, for like my parish, it's mostly the weekly bulletin and, when Facebook lets me see their posts. we also have an email list too, but yeah. Yeah.
But like with Flocknote, you can have your different ministries even be in their own little group and send messages just to the extraordinary ministers of communion or the altar servers or the lectors. But also like some of these others, I remember, but my other parish that was doing it, I would be responding to messages on Flocknote, and again, without giving out my personal number. So even there was a way that I could be active in it and still have the privacy, if not my personal number, just floating out there for everyone to see.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I know my brother had some experiences with dealing with chaplains and emergency providers in Arizona. So we explored several different ones, and Signal came up real high in the accuracy of being very, very private. And the only bad part is that at this moment, they still require you to sign up with a phone number.
Yep.
But as far as the it's nonprofit, so and it's open source, and
I wanted to get into the different apps that we have on the list.
Oh, okay, sorry about that.
So no, that's fine, because I want to go through what sets them apart from each other and why you would. And so as you mentioned, Signal is a nonprofit organization, and so they're not in it for the money. The software is open source so that people can dig into it and make sure that it's really private. And that sets it apart from some of the others, because as we'll get into, some of the others, most of the others, they're not open source. You can't see how it works. And there's even some question about ownership of the company and that sort of thing and who they're connected to. But you're right. That's one of the things that really sets it apart. The privacy aspect. I have a Signal account. They also have, it's the one recommended most by privacy advocates. They have voice and video, and they, like several of the others, they also have self-destructing messages, sort of like the Mission Impossible. This message will self-destruct, except not as dramatically. It doesn't blow up your phone.
No smoke.
It'd be fun if it did. But they're time limited messages. And yeah, so you kind of feel like a spy when you're using it. I mean, I know that there are real people out there using Signal for real purposes, because there is danger in their life, and that's good that it's there for them. So, and it's free, so that's good. There's a let's work backwards from the list in the show rundown, because the one that's similar to Signal is Telegram. Telegram is also known for security and privacy. It's founded by some Russian expats. These guys had started a Russian social media network that was taken over by the government. And so they started Telegram after that, and then moved out of Russia. If you read their Wikipedia page on Telegram, there's this whole, it does read like a spy novel. They've got shell companies and they set up in, the Cayman Islands and, all that sort of stuff. But they claim to be not about the profit, but they are not a not-for-profit company. You know what I mean? They are a for-profit company. So that doesn't mean that there's something bad going on, but it does mean that they're different from Signal. They also have end-to-end encryption, just like Signal. In fact, all of these offer end-to-end encryption. They have large group support. With Telegram, you can sign up anonymously. There's a way to get access to a unique 888 number that you can use. It's a whole thing. I'm not going to get into the details of it, but you can look it up in the Wikipedia article or on their website. It'll explain it. But there is a way to get anonymously on there. And Telegram is big in certain areas. Like even in Russia, a lot of there's like these big channels. Like you can create a channel where like there are people discussing the war in Ukraine, and that and they're able to do it. The Russians and Ukrainians and whatever are able to do it anonymously, so that through this app. It is free, but there is a premium level that just gives you access to larger uploads, faster downloads, that sort of thing. One of the either upsides or downsides, depending on your point of view, is that it's extremely non-restrictive as far as content goes. The only thing it bans is calls to violence, scams, and illegal pornography, which, frankly, I'd rather they just ban the whole thing, because it may some of it may not be illegal, but it is certainly unethical. But that's my Catholic point of view. So Signal and Telegram. Do either of you? So Pat, you said you signed up for Signal. Have you ever used Telegram?
I'm using it with. No, I haven't ever used Telegram. I was going to say there are a couple of things I wanted to mention about Signal when it comes time.
I was just going to mention I do have a Telegram account, and I've only recently actually, but I use it. There's some artists out there, digital artists, that I like to commission usually Star Wars art, but some of them use Telegram to like let their followers know like their queue and their status, and so it's kind of it's an art channel where they kind of, and so I've joined to kind of see where they're at with, and then you get to see the other art that they do. So just kind of a less top secret sort of thing, but kind of a more
promotional.
Right. So and Telegram seems like a fine choice for what I use it for.
Okay, Pat, you were going to say.
Oh, yeah. The only thing that I've had any problem with Signal was when I ended up trying to move from one phone to another, and I've done it 3 times. One of the times, it was really tricky trying to get it authorized on the new phone before it lost the messages, et cetera. So I did lose my history. And the other thing is that you can use it on the web with a PC, but that is not the primary one. And if you go to a new PC, you have none of the history at all for your previous conversation. So it's like, we can join now, but you don't have anything but your phone that you can see your history on. Right. So those are 2 negative things to me.
Okay.
I'm sure there are reasons for it for privacy, but
Yeah, one thing to keep in mind is all of these services use centralized servers. So your data is all going to a server somewhere. Now, the key with end-to-end encryption is it's encrypted on your device and decrypted on the other device. It is not unencrypted in transit. That is the important thing to recognize with all of these, because what you don't want is them to be able to, decrypt your messages, maybe by a subpoena or by a nefarious, person in the middle to be able to, get access to the admin tool. So, so they're all end-to-end encryption with an asterisk, and I'll get to the asterisk in a second, because I also wanted to talk about WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger. Now, both of these are owned by Meta, Facebook, and Facebook bought WhatsApp several years ago, and it's one of the most widely used in the world. It's huge outside of the U.S. It is huge. I know in Brazil, in lots of Europe, it is very important. Yeah, in India, yeah.
I know a lot of like military. I mean, I like if you have family overseas or something, I know it's very common for that kind of purpose. Right.
And one of the things it's really good for is because it's cross-platform. It's available on every kind of device, Windows, Mac, iOS, Android, Linux, etc. It does have end-to-end encryption because it's a standalone app. It does allow group chats. You can do voice and video calls. So there's a lot of those things. I do get spam in it occasionally. People, I don't know, I'm not sure how, like what they're doing to find me there, but I do occasionally get spammed. So I just block the sender. But it is Meta. So if you're one of those people who just don't want to work with Facebook at all, this would not be the one for you. And then there's the other Facebook messaging app, which is Facebook Messenger, which does text and voice and video. It also does things like there are games you can do with play with people. There's businesses can have a chat bot using Facebook Messenger. The asterisk I was talking about before with end-to-end encryption is it's end-to-end encrypted Facebook Messenger in certain apps. If you're in Safari, you're using it through the web, you're not end-to-end encrypted. And they will tell you that. There's a notice that comes up at the top. So if you're in the app, you will be, but you're also in their app. So Facebook knows what you're discussing. So it's not secure. I would say of all of these, I'd say the least secure is Facebook Messenger, just to be honest. I mean, old style SMS is probably, the least secure, but of the rest of these, I'd say Facebook Messenger is the least secure of them all. Now, again, you may not care that, I'm talking to grandma on my Facebook Messenger app. I'm not going to worry about, the whatever the successor of the KGB is. The FSB is spying on my grandma chats. Yeah. So those are the general big services and a few others that we mentioned as well. So some best practices. So, like we said, make sure end-to-end encryption is turned on, and some of them it's on by default. There's no way to turn it off. So that's good. As always, use strong passwords and two-factor authentication. And I think especially in your messaging app, precisely because a lot of other services are verifying your identity by sending you a text message or sending you a message. So make sure you've got strong security in your messaging apps as well. Likewise, verify your contacts, verify that the person that you're communicating with is who they say they are. If it's
that would be, the biggest scams out there are, yes. This is Father Andrew, and I need you to get me some iTunes gift cards to
right.
Yes.
But those go throughout all of these, and yeah. and call up the person to make sure it's actually them.
Right.
And if it's not, then just block and delete.
I will give a blanket statement. Your priest is never going to ask you for any kind of gift card. Never. Never. Especially now that this has been a scam. Now, I'm sure even a priest who would, ask for one wouldn't ask for one now.
I do
cold hard cash.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I do take them as thank you notes and whatnot, but I'll never
Starbucks
ask for
gift
them.
Card.
Right.
But you'll never ask. Likewise, the IRS is not also taking your tax payments in gift cards either. So nor are the police taking your payment of a fine, etc. So make sure you keep your apps up to date. App updates are usually to fix bugs that cause security holes. So that's a general rule of thumb for everything, anything security related. Use the disappearing messages, the self-destructing messages where appropriate. If you are discussing, sensitive information, sometimes even like if the message were discovered, it wouldn't be the end of the world, but it could cause discomfort for somebody.
Scandal.
Or like for instance, if a priest is dealing with a sensitive situation, not a sacramental situation, but even just a sensitive situation with someone that they're counseling, maybe a self-destructing message just to protect the other person. They obviously this could be used for bad purposes. A guy cheating on his wife doesn't want his wife to discover his messages. That would be a bad use of this. So your own morality is going to need to be operating here. But in general, I think, there are valid uses for these things, I think.
And in fact, most of that, you should just come and talk to your priest in person.
Yes. Right. I mean, I can imagine there's a circumstance where there's an ongoing conversation or relationship, and there's a situation where I just need to let you know an important thing, a phone call is probably better. Just let's be honest, because what's the old saying? Never write when you can speak, never speak when you can nod. Like, you can't subpoena a nod. They'll never show up in discovery in court, for corporations. That's a big thing, or the mob. Then make sure to create group chats for your family, your work, your friends. I have a group chat for the scout leaders in my daughter's scout troop that, by the way, I turn off the alerts on it because they get pretty chatty, and I just don't need that during the day. So turn off the notifications. Turn off notifications. Yeah. I leave some on, like the notifications from my wife. I want to make sure those come through, but others, I don't need to see the latest meme my kids are posting at the moment that they post it to the family chat.
You can catch up later.
Exactly. And there are lots of great features, like you can pin chats at the top. That was one of my favorite things they added in iOS a few years ago, was the ability to pin, was it 6 or 9 chats at the top? I forget.
9. You can do 9.
And then,
I always want 10.
Then there's a social thing. Who are your pins? Who's pinned at yours?
Don't go down that road.
No,
that just makes me think MySpace and your top 8 friends. I'll never tell who's the top 9 in my pin list, because then it's just a competition. Who does Father like best?
Well, and it's nice to be able to pin a group to the top too.
Oh yeah.
That's really helpful.
So my family chat with my wife and my kids is in there. Of course, my wife is in there. And Jimmy is in there. That's the only ones I'm telling you. So Jimmy Aiken.
I'm hurt.
Well, I didn't say you weren't in there. I'm just saying the Jimmy's in there. I get a lot of texts and calls from Jimmy.
Pat, your family. I didn't even make that group. So.
Yeah, but which family group?
Yeah, we don't actually have. I'm not in your family group, the Scott family group. I find her all that stuff.
Melanie's in there.
Yeah,
I figure Melanie can tell you what's funny.
Yes, exactly. I get the latest pictures of Skylar from that. My niece, very cute. And archive old chats. That's a great one. If delete stuff that you don't need anymore, clean it up as you go. Delete the spam and the junk. Just keep it clean so that you can find things. Because sometimes you want to go back and find a conversation, and if it's cluttered up with all kinds of, spam, it'll be hard to find. So, anything I'm missing here that we want to talk about? Want to add to the list? It's a pretty comprehensive set of best practices and all.
One of the things that I've had people ask for, though, is how they can get copies of their, say, Apple messages and stuff like that, because, they want to keep it clean, but they also want to save some of the stuff.
Oh.
And there are some third-party programs that will let you go out and pull all of them in to make either PDFs from them or put them in a little database type thing. But just to let you know that can be possible, at least on Apple. I don't know about Android.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I know that those apps exist. I don't have them off the top of my head, so maybe a future episode will follow up with some of those apps and
it's kind of backup.
Yeah, so how to back up your messages. That's actually really good because these messages contain a lot of information that can be important that you don't have anywhere else. And honestly,
or nostalgia.
Yeah, I mean, when both my parents passed away, I saved all of the voicemails I had of them, and I'm glad.
Yeah,
I was glad I hadn't deleted them all. And so
Right.
I know some people are obsessive about deleting voicemails. I keep the ones of the people I'm closest to, just not morbidly, but just in case. So I will always have their voice. Which is a thing that didn't exist 30 years ago. So I'm glad I have it.
Well, and AT&T has expanded the number that you can keep, but it used to be really irritating because your voicemail is full, and now I haven't seen that message in a while. So yeah.
And you can save voicemails. I know that on the iPhone you can save them to a file.
Right. You can even email them to somebody.
Yeah, exactly. So that's
you
good.
can be, as you're listening to it, you can share it through an email or share it through another text.
All right. So that's it for our discussion of messaging apps. If folks have more questions or more suggestions for messaging apps or any corrections, because we're not perfect, you can send that to technology@sqpn.com. Before we move on, I want to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the secrets of technology, including Leslie H., Jeff V., Lindsay S., Alfredo B., and Edward G. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the secrets of technology and all the shows at StarQuest. And you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. And by the way, we are a nonprofit organization. I need to point that out occasionally. So we are a 501c3. Your gifts may be tax deductible depending on your tax situation and the jurisdiction you live in. So just please consider that.
And don't send gift cards.
No gift. We do not take gift cards. This StarQuest show is also brought to you by Exodus 90 and the Exodus 90 app, a daily companion to help you grow closer to God and to become the man you want to be. This summer, join the Enthronement to the Sacred Heart, the Exodus 90 Summer Book Club, and St. Michael's Lent, beginning August 15th and leading up to the Feast of St. Michael the Archangel on September 29th. Go to exodus90.com/SQPN for a 14-day free trial to the Exodus 90 app and to learn more about St. Michael's Lent. That's exodus90.com/SQPN to join us for St. Michael's Lent starting August 15th. All right, here's our headlines. And the first one is, this showed up in a bunch of different places, but I'm going off of the headline I saw at the Catholic News Service on the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops website. AI, Pope expresses concern over technocratic future. So Pope Francis became the first pope to address a Group of Seven summit. The Group of Seven is the 7 biggest economies in the world, basically. I'm not going to name them. I'll miss one of them, but it's the usual suspects. America, China. I'm not sure if China. It's like democratic economies. So U.S., Japan, Germany, France, that group. See, I mean, I knew I was going to get it wrong, so I shouldn't even know. Anyway, the important thing is the Pope, one of the things he wanted to talk about was artificial intelligence, and he warned them of the risk of locking the world order in a technocratic paradigm. Here's what he said: no innovation is neutral. Technology represents a form of order in social relations and an arrangement of power, thus enabling certain people to perform specific actions while preventing others from performing different ones. He added that technology always includes the worldview of those who invented and developed it. Like a lot of things that popes say, it's a little opaque. So I wanted to dig into a little bit and kind of tease out what he's talking about. And I think what he's saying, or what he's getting at in general about AI and technology is that technology can be a way that divides rather than brings together, that gives some people more power over others. And if we know anything about Pope Francis, he's very concerned about the people on the margins and, the people who are being taken advantage of. What do you think of what the Pope is saying, and what should we be concerned about as Catholics about AI and developing technology in general? What do you think?
I think the key point of Catholic social teaching is the number one thing is the dignity of the human person. So AI in itself is just a tool. And now, how we use that tool, I think we have to keep the human person in mind in how it affects, the greatest to the least. So the key question always is, well, how does that look in practice? And I don't think any of us have the answer to that, but it's, I'm struggling to kind of to flesh that out a little bit.
So in the article, there's a quote from this priest, Father Paolo Benanti. He's an ethics professor at the Pontifical Gregorian and an advisor to Pope Francis on AI issues. And so he had given this speech, and he kind of gives an example, which maybe will help us to discuss it. So he says, technology today is really transformed reality into a software-defined reality. And so what he means by that is, while people still buy physical goods, like a car, most of these important goods in our lives are run by software that exists within the car's computer, say, or whatever device we have, but is licensed and not owned by the purchaser. And we've talked about this several times, about this licensed but not owned. We have our media is licensed but not owned. All the software that is on our devices is licensed, but it's not ours to do with what we will. And so, as he says, I bought this piece of hardware, but what makes this piece able to work and function is not my property. It's a license that's someone else's property. If Apple says we're revoking your license, my phone becomes a brick. It's a completely useless hunk of junk. And so this isn't really AI, but more about technology. He says it's the software that defines the nature of the reality that is in front of you. And then who owns the software, owns the power, owns the reality, and has the ability to define what is allowed and what is not allowed. And so I think this is talking about, and then he kind of says AI takes this to the next level, artificial intelligence, because of the power of the potential power of AI. And so what he's saying is we need to, as a society, look at who's amassing the power and what do we do about that? And so we should be concerned with companies like Facebook and Apple and Google and Tesla and Facebook. I probably already said Facebook, but, amassing the power. So,
and misusing it possibly, that's the worry is the misuse of it.
And so much of this technology is very centered on places like the North America, Europe, and the more developed parts of Asia, whether it's Japan and Taiwan and Korea, South Korea and India, and other places like in Africa and South America and the rest of Asia, they're not.
They're left out.
They're kind of left out. All this stuff is, first written and released in English, and it's, focused like, we've got Uber, but Uber isn't in Africa. They've got other services. Are those services as good? A lot of this stuff is kind of, it creates haves and have-nots. And I think that's an important thing we need to address.
Well, and it's even come up in legislation about things like access to internet services. The fact is there's huge amounts of even the U.S. where there isn't adequate access to internet. It's an economic thing. Either you're rich enough to own the hardware and the software, or and subscribe to an internet service, or you don't. And so there's been some push to try to say, let's get it available to everybody, but it's still not there. Way far from being there. So that becomes an aristocracy has all the techie stuff, and the people who are poor don't have it.
And for as our society progresses technologically, you need to have access to this technology to advance. There was an interesting, call to a paradigm shift, which and I need to find where it was. We need to stop thinking of progress, the pursuit of progress, the ability to make our technology faster, speedier, more efficient. That's always been, for years and years, decades now, that's been what technology progress has been about. Instead of prioritizing serving the common good. So what is, so much of the tech industry now is, at its best, we want to make better technology to advance, our ability to do things. And it's not so good. We want to create technology so we can become billionaires and sell it to everyone. Very rarely this is about serving the common good and making humanity, lifting everyone up.
There's a weird distinction happening here that I'm only kind of now even just visualizing, but in principle, technology has always been, in the private, a lot of it's in the private sector, and if you have enough money, you can buy these things, but it's you don't need the newest iPhone to function in society and be a part of it. But we're in a situation now almost where some sort of technology is almost necessary for just living, just a simple life. And so it's weirdly moving some of that technology like almost out of the private sector and into like what's necessary for basic human flourishing in our society. Mm-hmm. And it's reminding me, and the answer, of course, is incredibly complex, and I don't think any of us could come up with how do you deal with that. But I was just in a class that was talking about the philosophy of law, and it goes at all sorts of places that we don't have time to discuss. But the key point that I like to go back to is Aquinas always kind of determined, or basically said that law is rules given by an authority to serve the common good and to protect and serve the common good. So the common good being the goal. And of course, the common good of humanity is flourishing and ultimately salvation. Mm-hmm. And so laws then have to promote and protect the common good leading towards salvation. But if we live in a culture, in a society nowadays where technology has to factor into that, now you're crossing the line of, what does law play on like these companies, and can law regulate Facebook and Google and Apple and there's no clear answer on all of that. And mm-hmm. how do we kind of work on that? I mean, the key point, I think he made it clear, we have to prioritize the common good. So whatever role technology plays in that's the mm-hmm. common good has to be our focus, whether it's however technology is going to play into that.
Instead of profit.
Yeah. But we live in a world where, Facebook's all about profit, and,
right, sure.
Their view of the common good is not the same as our view of the common good.
And just because it can be done doesn't mean it should be done.
That's a big one.
Because that happens with technology too.
Yes. And I feel like open, as far as AI goes, OpenAI was an attempt to go there because it was supposed to be a foundation. It was a nonprofit. It was, and little by little, I keep seeing OpenAI is moving away from that and moving more toward a model where it's more about the money. Show me the Benjamins. It's less about that initial idealism. And, Pope Francis says, and maybe we can close with this remark from the Pope. He said he called for a regulatory, economic, and financial environment that limits the monopoly of a few and allows development to benefit all of humanity. And I think this is the big point. Is it's not that we're against innovation or against people, earning the fruits of their labor, but we also have to prevent the accumulation of power in the hands of a very few basically unaccountable people. And that should concern everyone, economic liberals and socialists alike. We should all be concerned about that.
Well, and I think the concern there is that if you have this technology that forces you have to have technology X in order to even function, like
to
that's
be in
wrong.
The game. Yeah.
Yep.
You go to, I remember my time in Guatemala, and those were some of the happiest people I ever met, and they didn't have the newest gadget.
Right.
So technology itself isn't like the answer to happiness. It's a tool just like anything else. But if we live in a world that you have to have the tool to even function basically, that's wrong. Or we have to make it available to everyone. Absolutely.
Well, yeah, I've seen this with some of my clients, and it's like the medical offices will insist that they have to get on a portal in order to make an appointment or whatever. And I tell them they cannot require you to have a computer. And so some people, job hunting, a lot of things require you to get on a computer, which is why libraries have open computers available for the homeless, et cetera.
If I had my druthers, my kids wouldn't have phones until they were, 18 or whatever, and they bought their own first phone. But we live in a world where, there are no payphones. We're expected to be able to be reached by them. So my sons are off, with the scout troop, and they finish early, and they need to call me, and we could have the leader call me, or my wife or whatever, but it just has gotten to the point where it just makes it's easier for my son to have a phone. And because his patrol organizes themselves via text, and it's just, my sons were the only two left out of the group because they're the only two who didn't have phones. And so, we kind of,
that's hard.
That's not fair.
Gave one of them a phone. Yeah. But it's the world, and the other kids, I don't blame them. This is what they have, this is the tool that they've got. So well,
I can see it from the scout leader's point of view. He doesn't want to have to make 40 calls when each child can call their parent.
Right. Exactly. And I don't want him to have to bother him. I want to be able to, to have him contact me directly if he needs me and that sort of thing too. So it's,
pager.
Yeah. Right. Oh boy. Gosh. Back in the day. Beep, beep, beep.
What's a pager?
No kidding.
I am old enough to know what a pager is. But.
Yes. And my kids carried pagers so that I could remind them when I was picking them up for a doctor appointment, etc.
Yes. And the special codes, like you text, so that it's like if you see an 866, it means I'm coming in 10 minutes, or, that sort of thing. You're like a doctor. All right, let's move on to our next two headlines. Those will go a little quicker because the next headline is from Wired. Amazon is investigating Perplexity over claims of scraping abuse. I bring this up because Perplexity.ai was my pick of the week several weeks ago, and they call themselves an answer engine. When I used it, and I still occasionally use it, it's really great at answering a question better than just Googling it. If I want to know what is I was looking for an outlet, like a surge protector that goes over a wall outlet that gives me multiple things. And so I just I Googled, and I got like every brand name, but I don't know what's good. So I said, give me the best one to Perplexity. And I kind of had to modify it a little bit, and it gave me, several choices. I picked one. I bought it off Amazon. I'm happy. It's really great at answering questions like that. The problem is Perplexity has been accused of ignoring the internet standards and scraping websites. And what that is using a bot, a program to visit websites and pull in and just sucking all the data off of it. And this accusations that they're using news sites to train its AI,
plagiarize,
and basically plagiarizing that some of the answers that Perplexity has been giving have been almost word for word the same as articles from websites and that sort of thing. So Perplexity says they're not doing anything wrong. This article talks about how Amazon is investigating Perplexity since their stuff runs on Amazon's cloud, so that they may shut them down. But there's been some investigations. So I just wanted to, it's kind of complex because this whole idea of like, you're not allowed to visit the site and look at it. But what's scraping? So there's all this technical jargon, but I just wanted people to be aware that Perplexity may not be everything it's cracked up to be, as I talked about it before. So
that we had hoped.
Right. I really do love the idea of using these AI chatbots to help sift through the information that is out there. There's so much information. It can be overwhelming to kind of put it together. I was looking for keyboard shortcuts in Adobe Audition for doing certain things. And it's like, Adobe's tutorial, helps site is terrible for that. Like, I'm sorry, Adobe, you need to, your site is terrible. So I use Perplexity I use ChatGPT, and it's like, it gave me the key combinations I needed after a little modification of my prompt. And that's the important thing, is sometimes you need to rephrase yourself because it's not understanding you. So anyway, so that's that headline. And then the last headline is just for fun, because this is from Engadget. It says Lego made bricks out of meteorite dust and they're on display at select stores. So in cooperation with the European Space Agency, they made some Lego pieces from meteorite dust, which isn't just cool. It actually serves a practical purpose, because they're also using it as a way of prototyping an idea about building materials on Mars or the moon. So we don't have to drag, wood and aluminum and steel and concrete up to the moon. We could use the regolith of the moon or whatever the raw materials are on Mars to make bricks or whatever. I just love the idea of moon habitats made out of Legos, but that's probably not practical.
That's fun.
Yeah. So if they have them on display at a store near me, I may go just check them out, because it's fun to think about. They actually work. This is what they said. They do click together and stuff. So,
but they're gray.
But they are space gray.
Right.
Because of course
it sounds like an Apple phrase, space gray.
It is. So, and human habitation off planet is not far away. I mean, not apart from the space station, like on another planet. They're talking about the first permanent human outpost on the moon in the 2030s. That's a decade away.
Wow.
Who would have thunk it? It's amazing. I hope I live to see it. All right. So those are our headlines. Let's move on to our picks of the week. Pat, you're up first. What is your pick this week?
Well, I've had several people, clients that were needing to move away from their little to-do list that they had. So I helped them kind of explore a few. And one of the ones that I'm playing with right now that I really like is called Todoist. And there's a free version, or you can pay $4 a month at an annual amount to get a paid version that adds some more features and things like that. But it's really easy, and it understands when you type in, I want to see somebody every week at 2:00. It creates the appropriate stuff, kind of like
language parsing.
And it automatically keeps track of things that you haven't finished and moves them to the next day. And I see it as more of a casual version of, using the other program that we've done before, Do. It's more casual, quicker, easier to use to me than that, as far as teaching a client how to use it. And it's available on the web or in apps as well. Whereas I don't think Do actually has a web app for it. I don't know if it does or not. But anyway, I just wanted to say that I've been enjoying it, and it's the free version. The one thing it doesn't do is show you things on a calendar. It shows you things today, tomorrow, next week, etc., or by day. But if you pay for it, then you get it actually on a calendar. Okay. As well as you get a lot more filtering and lots of different other features with it.
Yeah, Do I think of as more of the you better do this right now. As opposed
it's the nagger.
It's the nagging one. But I like the smarts in Todoist, which is it will automatically move things for you. Like it moves, if you don't do it today, it'll put it on tomorrow's. It'll, it's in it, like you said, it parses what you enter in a smart way to understand, what groups it goes in. It also allows collaboration. So you can have like a team so a team to-do list
or family list
integrated, with your personal stuff. Todoist is a nice contender out there. It's been around a long time, and they have pretty much say that they're an independent company and they are not looking to be bought out. They intend to go it alone, which is great because so many of these great apps end up getting bought by bigger companies and then disappearing and getting sucked into the other apps from that company. Microsoft, they did that to a pretty good to-do app a while ago. So excellent. That's a good pick. Father, what's your pick this week?
Well, in keeping with kind of the AI theme that we got going on, my pick is called DeepL, so DEEPL. It's basically a translation service that uses AI, and it was recommended to me. It's by my thesis director, actually. It's really kind of like geared towards like people who need to do some serious language translations rather than just typing something into Google Translate or even using ChatGPT to translate stuff, because DeepL, you can it's got that basic functionality, but it really excels when you throw in like a PDF or a document to it and it'll translate it. Because I was using that for my thesis work. I'd pull a journal article from Italy and I know maybe 2 words in Italian, but you throw it into DeepL and it will translate it and even kind of keep the formatting of the original PDF. So then you can kind of look back and forth and, find where you're at and where you need to be. And the translations that I've experienced with it, have been really stellar. The downfall is that it needs, in order for you to have like to print some of those translated files and to edit them yourself, you do have to be part of their paying plans. And those can range from their starter plan is $8 a month. And then their high end plan is $60 a month. So, it can get really expensive. The saving grace for me is that they do offer with every plan 1 month free. So a free 30-day trial. So I thankfully had my documents kind of lined up what I needed. And then I plugged in a free trial and was able to get everything translated. And I didn't have to pay for it, but I'm not using translation software on an ongoing basis. Mine was for a single thesis, but other people, might need it for longer than that. But there is a free version. And so you still can translate documents. You just can't edit those documents. And if you're going to translate like sentences, there is a character limit on the free version. But it's
there.
Yeah.
Is it better than Google Translate?
It was great. It is very much better than Google Translate.
Okay. That's
it keeps the meaning, not just the translation of the word itself.
Yeah. Because that's long been an issue is, I've had to translate things for work, other, jobs. And sometimes I'm like, I don't think that's right, but I don't speak that language, so I'm not sure. Hope I don't offend anybody.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean what you think it means.
Yeah. So
excellent. Inconceivable.
Yes.
So my pick this week is kind of prosaic, actually, compared to everyone else's. But mine is a battery charger that I've had this for 4 years or more that has always worked for me. And it's the Panasonic BQCC55, whatever. I'll put a link in the show notes so you don't have to remember that. Eneloop individual rechargeable battery charger. And so the way this works is it plugs like right into an outlet. So it has a fold out plug on the back, and you can plug it right into a wall outlet. And you can put AA or AAA batteries in it and to recharge. It has an LED that lights up and it's charging, it's charged, but there's also a version where it tells you this battery is no good anymore. It's gone through too many cycles, and so just get rid of it. And so, which is I find very useful. So I'm not trying to make a bad battery continue to work for me. Why is my thing keep dying so quickly? So it's $33. which isn't bad for a battery charger. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles, but it's got all the basic things. It does overcharge protection, auto shut off when it's fully charged. And, you can, the best thing to do is charge in pairs. So to charge 2 or 4 batteries, I found is better than charging one. You can charge just one battery, and you can charge like AA's and AAA's at the same time, but just something to be aware of. So yeah, basic tool of the day is Panasonic battery charger and a loop battery.
Everybody's got appliances or gadgets that need batteries these days, and recharge is the cheaper way to go. Yeah,
I find the Eneloop batteries to be the best of all. The Amazon Basics are not as good, and just the Eneloops are really good. So excellent. So that'll do it from us this time. We would love to hear from you. If you have anything you wanted to say about anything we discussed today, you can let us know by commenting on the show at sqpn.com/technology, the StarQuest Facebook page, facebook.com/StarQuest Media. Send an email to technology@sqpn.com. Visit the StarQuest Discord community at sqpn.com/Discord. And you can find links from our discussion and our picks of the week on our show notes at starquest.fm/TEC262. This is episode 262. Be sure to write a review in Apple Podcasts or one of the podcast directories that allows it, or rate it, or whatever you can do to just help us get the show out to more people, and share the podcast with your friends. Help us grow this community, reach more folks. Until next time, Father Andrew Kinstetter, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of technology.
Absolutely.
Pat Scott, thank you as well.
It's good being here.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to The Secrets of Technology on StarQuest.